There are a number of fantastic documentaries that deserve to be on best of lists this year, but I'm not actually going to help any of those out because for my number 5 spot, I'm going to talk about the one that's probably gotten the most attention, which is Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised. This is the directorial debut of the musician Amir Questlove Thompson, and it's about the 1969 Harlem Cultural Festival. It's a series of concerts during that summer that brought in a bunch of the biggest names in music, think along the lines of Stevie Wonder. But really, I could spend the rest of this time just naming all the people who played. Somehow Questlove got a hold of the footage of these concerts, and that was mostly thought to be completely lost. And if this were only a concert film, that alone would make it one of the best documentaries of the year, but he also places the concerts in their social context during an incredibly volatile time for the community. And he tells the story with a musician's sense of rhythm and dynamic range, and he makes this a heck of a lot more than some great concerts. Not too bad for a first-time filmmaker. I'll be back tomorrow with number 4. Number 4 on my list is The Power of the Dog, Jane Campion's incredibly sneaky little murder ballad, featuring a career best performance from Benedict Cumberbatch, probably quite a few major awards for Cody Smith-McPhee, and maybe a few for Kirsten Dunst too. And even though I didn't put this movie at number 1, it'd be pretty hard to argue Campion didn't do the best directing job of the year. By the time you discover you need to go back and reevaluate what you thought you were watching, you realize every gesture, every camera movement is filled with intention and meaning, and that what you thought you were seeing may not actually have been what you were seeing. But it's also a lot more than that. Among other things, Campion is interested in what really constitutes power and how weakness can be retooled to gain that power. And when it all comes together for you, whenever that is, try not to get a few shivers. This movie is cold-blooded. Number 4 on my list was The Power of the Dog, and the movie coming in at number 3 could easily have switched places with that one, but it got the edge for purely emotional reasons, in that it's just such a delight to watch. Number 3 is Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch, an ode to French filmmaking, journalism, great writing, and even better editors. Anderson pays homage to so many different styles and techniques from French cinema, and his dialogue comes so extremely hard and fast that it's frequently overwhelming, and I just had to acknowledge that in order to pick up everything, I was going to need to watch it again, and again, and again. Because you can just tell how much fun everyone is having making this movie, which is something Anderson said he wanted to do. He just wanted to try anything that seemed like it would be fun and put it in the movie. And when you're as talented as he and his collaborators are, that's not a bad way to do things. Back tomorrow with number 2. The next to best movie of the year is also one of the very best of the magnificent career of the Spanish director Pedro Almodóvar, and it's Parallel Mothers, starring frequent Almodóvar collaborator Penelope Cruz, who's probably doing the best work of her career. Cruz is a woman nearing 40 who unexpectedly becomes pregnant, and while in the hospital giving birth, she meets another new mother, a teenager, and the two develop a bond. But things get complicated, as they often do, although they get complicated in ways they often don't do, and the way Almodóvar is able to layer so many complex feelings and events on top of each other is astounding. Any one of the many parts of this movie could have made up its own movie, but he's able to weave it all together with deep empathy and love. And even more than that, the story also becomes about acknowledging extremely difficult realities that seem almost unbelievable. And Almodóvar extends into an examination of the horrifying past of the Franco era. Plus, it's such a pleasure to watch a director who just knows how to stage a scene. I'll be back tomorrow with number 1. For number 1, we have a tie, which is kind of cheating, but there's a reason. One is the Japanese movie Drive My Car, based on a short story by the great Haruki Murakami, about a theater actor and director who loses his wife and wrestles with the aftermath. It goes a lot of places and takes us through a huge range of ideas and emotions, but it does it so easily that you don't even notice its 3-hour runtime. Seriously, it zips by, it's crazy. And by the end, it's told us something we all deeply, profoundly need to hear. The other movie would really be my absolute number 1 for this year, except that it played at festivals all through 2020, even though it didn't technically come out until this year, so I don't know if it counts. It's from the African country of Lesotho, and it's called This Is Not a Burial, It's a Resurrection. It's a philosophically, spiritually, and historically enormous film, with existential themes sitting right alongside African storytelling traditions and nods to the cinematic masters. This is a movie that truly deserves its place in the pantheon of all-time greats of world cinema.